Welcome to the Making Moves with Mal podcast. In every episode, you'll hear stories from individuals just like you that are trying to make an impact. They'll share their unique journey and some helpful tips that got them to where they are now. You'll hear conversations with people from all walks of life who are trying to make some moves. Now, here's your host, Mal.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Making Moves with Mal. I'm excited today because I have a returning guest here, my wife, Marlene, and we're going to talk, today we want to focus on the topic of family. Like how do you manage having a family, being a family, family oriented, and then still running a business.
Right.
So thank you for taking the time today.
My pleasure.
I know you're busy. You're a busy person with the kids at home and all the things that you handle. So I know like a lot of our friends or a lot of people that know us always ask us, like, especially you, like, how do you guys do it all? Like,
right.
Having kids, having a business, owning a brokerage, like how is this even all possible? So give me your thoughts. What do you think?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is like for us to be like on the same page, right? When it comes to how we want to parent, how we want to run the business, how we want to just be as a couple as well. So it's taken a lot of, I think trial and error and a lot of just kind of figuring out what works best for us. But most of all, I think time management, that's been like the biggest thing. And finding like the proper routines for us that work to where we can still make time for every single thing,
Yeah, I think now more than ever, our free time is very limited, very
limited,
scarce.
right?
And so I think it is a matter of just making sure that what we've been doing is just making sure that we're prioritizing what we need to prioritize, right? Our priorities have obviously changed from when we first met as a young college couple, going out to bars, drinking, doing all that stuff. Right now we're grown, married adults with kids, and we're raising a family, and our lifestyle shifts with that as well.
Different.
Now it's prioritizing our kids, their development, their growth, while still prioritizing our business and our bloodline, which is the business, right? That's our source of income. So making sure that we have a clear balance with that, man. It's crazy because a lot of times we get invited to things with a lot of our friends. We get invited to places, and it's so hard to even go anywhere with kids alone. But then having to coordinate going out by ourselves,
right,
makes it that much harder.
We have a lot of little kid birthday parties now, which those are easier to go to.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. It comes down to prioritizing the time to the things that we want. Right?
Yeah.
So I want to touch base on you as a mom. Like, how do you feel as a mom and as a business owner, as an individual for that? Like,
every role is very unique and very important to me, like in a different way. Above everything, being a great mom is what's extremely important to me and my kids' development, and just, I think that's my main role within our family, just being foundation for our kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what has worked for us, that we've been able to kind of delegate and, like take turns doing things. And if I can't do something, you jump in, and vice versa. And I think that's what's helped us a lot too. But it's taken us time to get there.
Setting those boundaries too.
Right. I think that's one of the things, like learning to set boundaries with just everything with parenting and with our kids, and making sure that we were able to set like a good example for them as well, and advocate for them and still be able to do things and all that. So being a mom and working business owner, being pregnant, like it's a lot. And I think there's days, it's never going to be just straightforward. There's just days that are harder than others. But I think what we've been doing recently of just like motivating each other, trying to stay on track, working out when we wake up, including the kids and all that, like has really helped with my sanity, at least, because the meditating, everything like has really helped me just kind of center myself, because there's times when it is a lot.
And they feel that
they feed off of that
energy.
Yeah.
Like if we're having a bad day, they feel it. They're gonna have a bad day.
Right.
Like it goes full circle, and then the day just gets away from all of us. So
right.
Having that structure from from the beginning, from getting out of bed and knowing, okay, what are we doing? What's the goal?
They know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I feel like if the kids are happy, then we're happy, and then it's just like a cycle.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If we're happy, they feel it.
Everyone's in a better mood.
Right.
Like you can just feel that energy in the room. So, and then kind of going back to the topic of boundaries, right? Because like, I mean, we're first generation.
We're both the oldest.
We're both the oldest in our families.
Yeah.
We're both the first to have grandkids for both sides of the family.
Yeah.
So like, we kind of set that. We were like, I always say we're like the guinea pigs, right? Because
for everything,
we're always the first ones to go through a situation or scenario. So we were the very first ones that had to handle like how to set forth our parenting style and set our boundaries in place and figure out how we wanted to interact with our family and our extended family, things like that, right? So that was always just a tough part in itself.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's helped us a lot, though, because at the end of the day, like, we realize, we're trying to create our own family, and with everyone's going to parent differently, everyone's going to do things differently, have different rules, have different outlooks, but we're going to do what's best for our kids and our family. And I think that's the most important thing, that we always do it. The decisions we make, the things we do, they're just keeping their best interests, and
above all else,
above everything. It has nothing to do with anyone else but our kids and what works for our family. So
I think that's the biggest like motivation that we have, especially like from the business side, right? So like running the business, like owning this brokerage, doing all the other kind of side businesses that we do. Like the main motivation for me is always like, what am I leaving behind? Like, what legacy can I create for my kids to, it's not like I'm saying, they're going to become realtors and they're going to take over the business, but like something is there. There's a seed planted for their future to be in a better position. Because I think that's always the ultimate goal, right? I mean, I think that's the goal of like why our parents came here, for like better opportunities, better life, not only for themselves, but then for their future, right? For their kids and everything like that. So like our job as now parents is we're kind of seeing those struggles and everything that our parents went through, and I think we're appreciating it now a lot more.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's days when we're like, things are chaotic at home with the kids and stuff, and I'm like, man, how did my parents do it with 3 kids,
multiple
working
jobs,
working multiple jobs, providing, and still providing, obviously with the level of income that they had it was a lot different than where we're at, right? So it's like all that you put into perspective, and you appreciate so much more now that you're on the other end, like now that you are in that parenting role, looking at your kids and thinking, I'm doing everything in my life for them to be successful and for them to have a better opportunities than I had, right? So,
and like you said, I think it's not a matter of like, because we want them to be within the same family business, or that they're forced to do what we did or anything, but they feed off of like the energy and the motivation and the determination, and they know Papa is going to work and what he's doing, and why he does the things that he does. And I think that they're always watching, like our kids are always watching, and that's why it's so important for like us, like when I feel like when you and I are on the same page, like they know that, they can feel that, and it's just a different dynamic. But again, it takes time and a lot of effort and a lot of trial and error to like, get to like a somewhat of an understanding of where, it's at the end of the day, when you get married and decide to have kids, it's not, I think that's when it really becomes, it's a test to like us as a couple. We have different beliefs. We come from different backgrounds, different families, and I think that's where it really truly does become. Yeah, I mean, even like in our like immediate like friend circle, we were like one of the first to. Yeah, there were really not that many kids. Yeah, before. So like, like it's hard when you're balancing family, your social life, a business, like all these things. Like, at the end of the day, like things are gonna slip through. Like you're gonna prioritize again, like what you want to prioritize, right? So in our life, it's mainly our kids. Like that's our main priority. So, like the way I always see it is like if I have any sort of free time, like I'm gonna spend it with my kids. Like I want them to enjoy
their time that they have with me, especially, and the time that I have with them being so little, because they're only that age once, right? And then they grow, and those are the memories that you remember, you know. Like, I think that's one of the things that, you know, if I'm looking back, when I was younger, that's probably one of the things that I remember most too, is like my parents always being emphasizing like being together as a family all the time. Like all the weekends we would always get together with all my aunts and uncles, and like we would take family road trips and go on vacations as a family, like spend time together as a family, which was, you know, always super fun, because, you know, it was my siblings. I'm the oldest of three. My siblings, my parents, we would always hang out. We would go camping all the time. So all those memories are like, you know, they're fun memories. I still remember stuff like that. So I want to kind of instill those same memories for our kids to know that, you know, they have a strong family foundation, and that, you know, family is like priority above all.
Right. Yeah, I think that going like off of the same thing, growing up, we would always take road trips. I think that's why now I like love road trips with our kids so much, because we would always take road trips during the summer, sometimes like, you know, Christmas time, whatever it was, like to visit family or whatever the case was. But I feel like that's why I became so like, it's a big part of like, those are big memories that like shaped, you know, my thought on the time spent with family and stuff. So it's true. I think all that, it comes a full circle, you know, and like trying to instill that. It's definitely a challenge though, with like now with like having a business and having to allocate time for everything, but it's doable. It's just, it's harder, but it's doable. Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to prioritize what you want to prioritize. Everybody's different, right? Everybody has different priorities in their life. But I think being, like you said, being on the same page really helps kind of set things into perspective for us on what we really want to achieve and what we want to prioritize. You know, like there's so many goals we have on a personal level, like for our family, and then there's so many goals that we've set on our business and our entrepreneurship and our growth as just business people, right? So I think having that clear mindset from the beginning has made such a difference, especially now, you know, like we were put into this crazy situation. We took over this business during the pandemic. Like we had no idea what to expect. And then even when you're taking over like an already existing business, there's things that take time to implement. Like there's changes that maybe you want to put into place that, you know,
to make it your own,
to make it more of a streamlined system for everything that you want to do. And so that takes time. So it's very difficult, but, you know, I think we try to manage our time as best as we can too. So even going through all this, we're also moving. We're in the process of moving, right? So that's like a whole nother
that's a whole other
thing, like animal itself, man. Like
I keep telling my close friends, like, I'm so sorry. I promise I'm not like ignoring you. I'm not just being a bad friend on purpose. Like, I feel like our life for the past like month and a half has been so chaotic, like busy, as in like not in bad ways. Like it's all great things, it's all blessings, but it's been a lot. And I feel like we have been very just MIA, but we just have so many things that are happening all at once, you know, moving, getting both houses fixed up,
right?
You know, being pregnant, both having 2 toddlers, the business.
There's a lot. There's a lot. And I mean, and it's kind of cool too, like us as realtors, like being the client, you know, being on the other end as well. Right. Like there's a lot that goes into preparing a house just to put it up for sale, right? Like so many little details, because you want to make sure the house is as presentable as you can get it, right? And a lot goes into that. And then especially if you have kids, and you've got like toys, boxes, you've got all this stuff going on. Like there's a lot that goes into just that alone. But I think seeing it from that perspective kind of helps make our job that much easier. Like we know kind of what we're doing, because we're leading by example in that sense. We're
on the other side. In this situation.
Yeah, because we went through the same thing when we bought our other place, like, you know.
Which was very different, because it was when you had first gotten your license. Do you remember that?
Yeah, when we first bought our first house that we're selling. Yeah, when we first bought our house, I think I was licensed at that point for 5 months or something like that. We closed in like May or something, right? So I think we were like the third or fourth client that I worked with, right? So it was that learning experience, like knowing all those steps that you encounter,
which we didn't know back then.
I mean,
as much as
you knew of them, right? As a real estate agent, you're learning these things, you're training on these things, but to actually go through them is a whole different thing in itself. Because then it really put into perspective, like putting yourself in the eyes of a buyer, of like somebody that's out there buying a house. Like, what are they looking for? What's their motivation? What are their fears? And I think that really helped solidify the fact that like we're always doing things right by our clients.
Oh yeah,
you know, that's above all else when it comes to the business. Like when it comes to working with a buyer or a seller, we always want what's best for them, right? One of the things I like to say to my clients is like, you know, I'm gonna treat you like you were family. So like any house that we go see, I'm gonna put myself in your position. If I were the one buying it, would I make this purchase? What would I offer? Things like that, and give you my perspective, and then ultimately you decide how how you want to move forward. So we guide them the right way that we can.
And I think it's so gratifying too. Like I have several people that I'm working with where like when you see it finally happening for them, like it like truly makes me so happy. Like it's just, I don't know, like people that are building their families, it's their first home, or it's not their first home, or they're selling, or whatever the case is. Like it's like it's really so gratifying to like see that come to life. And like after because you know that buying a home or selling their home is like a big deal to people, you know, and it's a big milestone, it's a big deal. So like being a part of that and being able to just see it, you know, all the work that it takes to get there, and then on both sides, you know, and seeing it finally happen, it's just like it's so gratifying. And it's like when it's finally falling into place, it's like, I don't know, it makes me so happy.
All that stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we do as agents that we deal with, it's all worth it, man. And I think that's one of the true things I really love about being a real estate agent is that every scenario, every client you encounter is going to be so different. Like everyone has their own reason why they want to buy or sell or whatever, right? So helping people go through that journey, I think, really makes it that much more rewarding, you know, and we truly are helping people find their path to whatever their goal is with real estate, which, you know, when we rebranded the office, that was like the big thing is like, what's our like our core what's our goal? What are going to be some of our core values? And we came to this realization that like, we're here to help people find their path. There's so many different ways to get there, right? And our job is to help them to facilitate and make a clearer path for them. So the whole find your path motto came in from that, which is pretty nice. And
I think too, something that I love that we both are on the same page about is like the education piece, right? So like, like teaching people that there's many different ways to get to like through that path, right? And finding their path, where like it's not always going to be the same for everyone. It's not always going to be the same situations, but it's possible, you know, and like we're here for guidance. We're here to help them. But I think that that's something that we've both really focused on, and we do it like on the real estate side, but I feel like that's also how we like with our kids, and with like we're very about like teaching them like the reasons behind things. Everything and why. Everything kind of goes hand in hand in that sense, like it like just works together. Yeah. So
no, I think that's a huge point, is that we come from that educational point of view for anyone that we work with, really, even if we don't end up working with them, like our goal is just to educate. Because at the end of the day, you know, everyone has the option to make the decision on who they want to help them through that process, right? And so with that education piece, also, like, we have to keep in mind too is, you know, the majority of the people that we work with buy a house for the very first time. They're first time home buyers, right? So putting ourselves back in that position from when we were first time home buyers, like, we heard it from everyone, like my parents, your parents, friends, family. Oh, you should look at this. Oh, when you buy a house, this. So you hear all this noise. It's overwhelming. Yeah. It can definitely be overwhelming. Yeah. Sometimes you're hearing contradicting points of views on what should happen through the process, right? So at the end of the day, we decided, like, okay, let's focus on us and let's
what just like
we'll take in this advice, like we'll take this, but let's at the end of the day, we want to focus on what's best for us and listen to the people that were guiding us, right? So listen to the lender that we're working with, follow our attorney advice and all that stuff, right? So I think at the end of the day, like, all that is helpful, right? Yeah. For a buyer to to at least be aware of and know. But the reality is that the people that are in it with you, like the lender you work with, the attorney that you choose, the real estate agent that you follow, the inspector, those are the people that are more educated and a little bit more knowledgeable on how things are in the here and now in regards to
based on like the exposure that we get to like different scenarios.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's your decision. If you're the one making the decision, it's on you to decide what you want to do, and educating them on that part too.
I think just education is key.
Setting the expectations.
Yeah.
Setting those expectations from the beginning. Yeah. I know we started the podcast with us being the very first episode, kind of sharing our journey, sharing kind of how we got through this business. But I think one of the things that we kind of neglected was kind of sharing more of like who we are in our personal space, what we do as a family and stuff. And I think that goes hand in hand. That's so important, you know. That's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we're doing what we're doing with this business. It's the reason we started this podcast, to share people's journey and stories. And I feel like we had to share ours as well. I'm excited for the future of our brokerage, the future of this podcast, everything that's moving along. I think we have big plans for our personal, like our family, the business, and even this podcast. So can't wait to see where it goes in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. What's something that's motivating you to keep going?
My kids. For sure, my kids. They are my motivation for everything, and just seeing they're growing into like little adults, you know, and creating their own ideas, like their own everything, like being a part of that and seeing them grow. They're like my biggest motivation.
For sure.
When it comes to essentially everything.
Yeah.
So like being a mom is like the best thing in the world. It's literally the most amazing thing in the world. Being parents is, so they're my biggest, they're my number one link.
Yeah. I mean, we do everything for them. The same motivation for me too. Like I, above all else, like I want to provide the best life that we can for ourselves and our kids and our future. And so they are the ones that drive me to be better every day and do something different, or do something on a daily basis that's going to improve myself and my family and our business. So I think once you have something like that to look forward to, it just gives you that drive to keep going. You just
want to keep going.
Yeah. You just want to provide the absolute best that you can, you know. And it's not always easy, you know. And we have our days that we struggle, and even with the business, we have our days that we struggle, and at home we have the days that are tough. But you take life every day, day by day, and try to appreciate those little moments and make the most that you can of those little moments.
I think that's like the biggest thing, and like the biggest takeaway is that it doesn't necessarily have to be like kids, you know, like people all like have different scenarios in which, you know, they are extremely busy for many reasons, but you know, like it's doable. I think, like you said, not every day is going to be easy. Not every day is going to be the same. Not every day is going to just be straightforward, but I think you keep going, you figure it out as you go. And I think that's the biggest thing at like being a parent, like that has taught me, is like, you just figure it out. Like no one has a right or wrong answer. No one is doing it 100% right. Like we're all making mistakes. And I think just like learning together, like you and I as parents, has like really helped us then implement that into our business mentality of like, you know, not everything's going to work. We're going to try it. If it doesn't work, we'll try something different, you know, and not every kid responds the same way. Not everyone's going to respond the same way. And we just kind of have to, you know, figure things out that way. But I think that's like, you know, it's doable. It's like you can do a lot of things that you're passionate about and pursue a lot. It just, you know, takes a lot of effort, patience. But, you know, you just having the support of your significant other.
That's key. I think
is key.
When we're both on the same page, I think we just flow. Different. We flow better. Things move a lot faster. Things get done easier, more consistently.
We're not mad at each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like you said, it's about the prioritizing. You know, like one thing I've been asking myself, you know, is valuing my time at the end of the day. Like I need to value my time, because time is very limited for all of us, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I read in the book that I'm reading is instead of saying I don't have time for that, like saying that's not a priority to me, right? And then seeing how that, like, okay, like for example, like working out, right? I used to be like, oh, I don't have time for that today. And then I'm like, now I'm thinking like, oh, that's not a priority to me today. Well, no, it should be a priority. So then that in itself is like, okay, shit, that's a kick to my butt in the mind to just, okay, now let me just go get a quick workout in or something, right? So yeah, those little changes, man, really go a long way in both our family and our business.
Like your mindset. It's all mindset thing.
You can achieve more than you think, which is the cool part. A lot of people limit ourselves. Cool. I mean, I think that pretty much wraps up today's episode. I appreciate you guys for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us on social media. Thank you guys. Till next time.
Bye.